We live in a very strange world where this is now considered okay, and I'm here with the voice of common sense to tell you, no, this is weird. Very weird. So what in the world is going on? What's happening, Internet K-Wing here, and today we're discussing this monstrosity, Beefcake Bruce Wayne as Nightwing. And it's about to get weird, so buckle up. So this is going to be spoilers if you haven't read Nightwing issue 116, where Bruce Wayne has now donned the mantle of Nightwing, because it's a mantle now. But anyway, so what in the world is going on? Well, in order to tell you about the context, I have to tell you about where the story is a ripoff from, because DC thinks a lot of you guys are not very smart, so they can recycle famous storylines, Bruce Wayne Fugitive, aka Bruce Wayne Wanted, and get away with it to redo the story again because they're out of ideas. Well, you know they're out of ideas based on what they did to Jonathan Kent, what they did to poor Timothy Drake, and what they did to Stephanie, and now what they're doing to poor Nightwing. Because people actually love the dynamic between Batgirl and Nightwing being a couple, being in love, and being vigilantes together. It's kind of a thing that isn't really normal outside of Black Canary and Green Arrow. I love the Nightwing run of them being together and them being heroes together. I eat it up. It's good. The writing is good. The books are fun. It's got both that classic Gal Simone, like Birds of Prey, and Chuck Dixon Nightwing vibe to it, and I dig it. So that's why I continue to support the Nightwing books, and why I've dropped the Batman and Robin books cold turkey, because they suck, and they just don't interest me at all. But that's a story for another day. I could tell you all the weird things they've done to Batman that you have no idea, like chopping off one of his arms and throwing him through time travel, but not the time travel from Darkseid that was good, but also kind of weird, just because DC didn't have the stones to kill off Batman in order for Dick Grayson to replace him back in the day. You remember that. But they've done another time travel / multiverse storyline where Batman went through the multiverse and met Arkham Batman and met Animated Series and Keaton and all this stuff and had an arm cut off. Anyway, so let's talk about Bruce Wayne Wanted, which was the Bruce Wayne Fugitive series, which was a compelling mystery, and Bruce Wayne found himself in very hot water, much like Dick Grayson does today in 2024. So back in the day, Bruce Wayne was wanted for murder when he was found red-handed with the body of an ex-girlfriend, Vesper Fairchild, in his arms. This is a synopsis, by the way. Bruce was arrested on the spot and thrown in jail for murder, leaving Bruce Wayne's protégés, Nightwing, Robin, Batgirl, and Oracle, to quickly begin an investigation to discover who the real killer was. So more or less a bad guy framed Bruce Wayne because he hated him for murder, and he also wanted Gotham to turn on their favorite son. So essentially that's what that storyline was. Now, tell me if you see any similarness to what's going on with Nightwing. So Nightwing is a philanthropist just like Bruce Wayne, and he is Bloodhaven's #1 son. He does a lot of humanitarian aid, he helps the homeless. He's a very good person. He uses his wealth to benefit people, which I'm just going to do the say by the bell pause thing, because a certain political party wants you to have a different idea about Batman. They want you to hate Bruce Wayne because to them, Bruce Wayne is a rich white guy that beats up mentally ill poor people and hates his community, which, if you're a Batman fan, and many of you are, Batman has always been a philanthropist that cares about the poor, and as well as the downtrodden, and the sick, and the homeless, and the criminally insane. In fact, let's just go over some of the great things Bruce Wayne has done over the past 40 years in just 2 minutes or so. So the animated series, which is heavily inspired by the Bronze Age 1970s Batman, Bruce Wayne did a lot to fix up Crime Alley, which was known as Park Row. He helped support the medical practice of Leslie Tompkins, as well as he gave Mr. Freeze the technology needed to keep his wife not only alive in cryostasis, but as well as the very expensive medicines that he needed in order to keep her alive and work on a cure. Bruce Wayne has been doing that for decades for Mr. Freeze. Well, depending on what interpretation of Batman it is, Batman always does that. In fact, Batman always helps the lesser-known people, such as Joker thugs, who were, on a bad path in life, and he recorrects them after punching them in the face. gives them a job and makes sure that they're on the straight and narrow, and those people always credit, I ran into Batman, my life I thought was over, but then Bruce Wayne swept up like a guardian angel and gave me a purpose, and I'm happier, and I turned from crime, and I have a son, and I have a wife, and blah, blah, blah. So, Robin would always joke around, a villain made possible thanks to a grant from the Wayne Foundation, but at the same time, Bruce Wayne is a caring individual that actually helps the downtrodden. So now, because they're totally cool with Nightwing, because Nightwing is a Gen Zer or whatever the term is, people are horrified because he was their favorite person in the world who did everything that Bruce Wayne never does, which Bruce Wayne does. That's where Dick learned it from, morons. And now they're shocked because Dick is responsible for being the big bad guy who's been murdering people all over Bloodhaven. Except he's not. He's being framed by a bad guy. So Dick feels terrible, and he's like, I am just a horrible person, and I know I'm not responsible for this, but Dick Grayson needs to go. And he doesn't realize when he's gone that Nightwing has to stay in Bloodhaven, or doom will follow to all the people in Bloodhaven. And the bad guys are like, all right, Titans, you need to vamoose. Batgirl, you're out. I better not see any spandex heroes running around Bloodhaven, or it's over. But Nightwing is allowed to stay because this is all his fault. So Babs, in her great wisdom, when Dick is away somewhere in Tibet, basically pulling a Batman Year One, she calls up Bruce, and Bruce shows up, and he's like, of course I will fill in the shoes for my son, but I don't think I can do it justice. For whatever reason, he has a Nightwing spare costume lying around, dons it, and boom, we have Beefcake Nightwing. Now, this is the weird thing, okay? Not only is Babs really wrong for doing this, because Batman doesn't even shave when he puts on the suit, but that's besides the point. Here's the funny thing. Who on earth would think this is Nightwing? Let's just do a little before and after, okay? This is Dick Grayson as Nightwing. This is Batman. The man didn't even shave. He's got stubble. He's got a death glare. If I was a Bloodhaven criminal, and I've probably seen Batman on the news, I would look at this guy and be like, hey, wait a second. That's not Nightwing. That's Batman. I mean, the build is Batman. There's no way that anyone... I mean, I know people in the DC universe are dumb because they can't tell the difference between Clark Kent and Superman. It's evident, Superman with the glasses off. Clark Kent with the glasses on. Superman, Clark Kent, Superman, Clark Kent. But what happens if Superman actually leaves his glasses on? Clark Kent is Superman, news at 11, So, I mean, the idea that they wouldn't be able to tell the difference between Nightwing and Batman, I guess you could kind of throw them a bone, but what about his voice? See, we know that Dick Grayson, when he filled in for Batman, according to Damian and Cassandra and Tim and Stephanie and Oracle, that Dick can do a great Batman impression. Like, he can sound just like him, which, I mean, we saw him do that in the animated series, where Lauren Lester did an impression of Kevin Conroy, even though it was Kevin Conroy, talking. But in the, fantasy realm of that TV show, it was Dick Grayson doing an impression. He said, I could just chuck this gig and go to Hollywood. So Dick Grayson can do a mean impression of Batman to fool people. Can Batman do an impression of Nightwing? I don't think so. So as soon as the next issue opens, I imagine, because, the Nolan Batman lives in my head right now, is that when Bruce Wayne puts on the suit, while he does look like Nightwing, kind of, I bet he sounds like this. Criminals of Bloodhaven beware. Nightwing's here, and I'm gonna stick it to crime with these sticks of mine. I just don't think that Bruce can pull it off. And I think somewhere Oracle is going to be like face-palming. I know it's Batgirl, but Oracle is going to be face-palming when Batman speaks as Nightwing in issue 117, because there's no way that this is going to work. Again, this is DC, like, out of ideas and just throwing darts at the wall to see if this is a good idea or not. And this is one of those moments where this is not a good idea. This is going to end in failure, but I kind of want to see where this train wreck is headed. It's like you can kind of see in slow motion, like, a train wreck is happening, and you're witnessing it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. So you can either watch it or you can try to get out of the way. I want to watch this happen, because I really believe that a purging fire is necessary for DC to be reborn and to get rid of all their crazy nonsense. Because what the public wants right now are Nightwing and Batgirl stories. They don't want Batman cosplaying as Nightwing. And I know some people are kind of like, well, I mean, this has happened before. If you bring up the pre-crisis thing, I'm going to slap you. Because the pre-crisis thing was really weird. Because people didn't know where Batman's foundation was going. It wasn't until Frank Miller that we actually got a firm, modern take about how Batman would operate in the world today. So Batman being the Frank Miller Year 1 origin still applies. Much more than Batman 0 Hour or 0 Year, whatever, that happened in the New 52. Which was a really weird, you know, basically like TV or smartphone take. But anyway, so in the 70s, Batman, for whatever reason, when he was a kid, he decided he was going to become a colorful vigilante, and he became Robin. So he could work with, I believe, Detective Henry Ducard and learn how to be a vigilante because, you know, he swore on his parents' grave that he's going to avenge them and become an avenger of justice and blah, blah, blah. So for whatever reason, they made him Robin. I don't know. They probably were just out of ideas, and, you know, this was just a special little tie-in comic, and it was later a part of Reborn as Dark Knight, Legends Untold, and put into cereal boxes that you would get from the Batman 89 cereal, which is how I mailed in the stuff, and the comic books came in the mail. And I thought they were really great comics. The writing was great, but it was such a confusing origin for Batman, which I have done a lore video on what 1970s Batman's origin was, talking about how he was in college, and he was a roadster, and all this other stuff. So, I mean, that's where all that stuff came from, including him being Robin. Now, we know in the regular continuity, Dick Grayson was always the first Robin until DC, new DC, or whatever the current DC is called, messed it up and had some girl be Robin, and then the girl became a homicidal killer, because, you know, DC has to take away from legacy characters in order to make their weirdo characters better, which is something that a certain agenda does, but that's besides the point. So Dick Grayson has always been Robin. He was the first Robin, and in pre-crisis world, Bruce Wayne was Robin. So people like to remind folks on Twitter that this happened before. So people saying that Beefcake Batman as Nightwing is weird. You don't know comic books. Me. So yeah, that's their argument. But this doesn't work because, one, those people are idiots, because as soon as Batman opens his voice, he cannot sound like a guy in his 20s. Like, any moron villain in Bloodhaven is going to do a double take when they see him. Not only does he look like the size of two Dick Graysons, like, merged together like a Ninja Turtle from that Japanese anime where the turtles discovered steroid juice, but also he sounds probably like this. I'm Nightwing. So you tell me in your common sense brain, hopefully a lot of you, how this is going to work out. Now, I'm hoping that this storyline is very brief, because this is going to be weirder than all get out. Unfortunately, when Nightwing gets replaced in comic books, DC likes to prolong that, and, you know, when is Nightwing going to come back from his sabbatical or whatever, and how long is Bruce Wayne going to be Batman? I could see them stretching this out for a while, and I really hope they don't. Like, I would love for this to just be like a 2 or, you know, 3 episode comic thing. If this is a new run, I don't know if I'm going to stick around, fam, because I love the Nightwing and Batgirl dynamic, and I want to see them have a super baby. I want to see the kids actually grow up and learn, you know, how to be heroes or not be heroes, and just see that family thing that's sorely missing. Because a lot of these writers are hacks that are sad and depressed, and they've had so many failed relationships that they love to come in and break up happy, you know, healthy relationships of comic heroes to reflect their own misery. And I want somebody who is actually competent and able to write well that can show a very healthy and happy relationship for a married couple as well as a married couple with kids. So that's what I would love for, you know, to happen for both Batgirl and Nightwing, because I think that would be interesting. It would kind of remind me of stories from the 80s and 90s where they actually let superheroes be happy, which is not something that's been very apparent in the 2000s at all. So, you know, that's why I stick around for the Nightwing books. Large and in charge Nightwing does not instill me in confidence to read the books, because Bruce, you should have at least shaved, man. You kind of look like Dick Grayson, but you look like Dick Grayson who's been time traveling in the multiverse and has got, like, pumped up. I mean, look at him. He looks like, yes, I am Nightwing. I am going to bench press you, and I'm going to bench press justice. Look at me. I'm the same guy, even though my face is different and my body is different. Don't body shame me. You know, something like that. I can just see that happening. especially with the weirdos that work at DC. But anyway, now I want to hear from all of you guys. Are you happy with this change? Do you like it? Do you think the story's going anywhere? Is this a one-off? Is this for shock and awe? What do you think is going on with the story? How long do you think Nightwing's going to be on his sabbatical? And do you even care who this villain of the month is that's been around in the Nightwing books? Dude who steals people's hearts. You think he's going to be a mainstream villain, or he's just like some, you know, weird new villain that's just kind of around and people will forget who he is in 10 years? Let me know. But anyway, sorry it's been a while since my last video, but I've been super busy. I'm a full-time streamer, so I get to come over to this channel when I have some inspiration, and I had some time to kill tonight between doing dishes and making thumbnails, so I figured I would talk about what's going on with this whole Nightwing situation. So I'm just going to keep this video brief, very Arkham-like, and, you know, I don't want to scare you too much with this image! Ha! Have some nightmares, folks. Anyway. Keep it locked here for more news on everything Batman in movies, video games, TV, and occasionally comics when they don't suck or they pique my interest. Alright, people. Later, Gothamites.